Okay, hello everyone, welcome to the new video. So in this video, mainly what we are going to discuss is the Capgemini pseudocode questions. So we'll be solving a lot of pseudocode questions from previous year Capgemini papers. Also, we'll discuss a little more about, what has changed about the pattern from previous year to this year. There's a slight amount of change. We'll discuss about that as well. So, without wasting any time, let's start. So, make sure first of all that you do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Along with this video, we are going to upload many videos, not just for Capgemini, but for other companies as well, right? As you know, Prepinsta is the #1 and the most visited website for placement preparation. I'd recommend you to go ahead and subscribe us. Plus, Capgemini, this is something that we've gotten to know. Capgemini will also be doing an off-campus drive in October or November. Not just that, many other companies would also be doing. So make sure that you join our Instagram, Telegram, and LinkedIn and WhatsApp channels. Make sure that you join all of them, because not just for Capgemini, we'll be posting a lot many different off-campus drives on those channels. The reason why we post it there is because students generally do not open Prepinsta or LinkedIn on a daily basis, but they open WhatsApp, Instagram on a daily basis, right? So make sure that you follow us everywhere, because some drives we just post on Telegram, some drive we just post on Instagram, so there's a distinction, because some companies tell us, okay, we only want 1000 people to be applying, right? So just like that. So I'll not waste any further time, let's start, right? So this is the part of our free master classes on YouTube. We'll be solving a lot of Capgemini pattern based questions from the previous year papers, right? So let's go ahead. So first, let's discuss about the syllabus. Yes, the syllabus has changed quite a lot. So from what we've gotten to know, in the previous video, we told that, okay, there are going to be 20 questions and 20 minutes, because this is something that was followed last year. But then again, finally, in one of the colleges, the exam was conducted. So there are now going to be 30 questions. These 30 questions are going to be in two sections. So the first section would have 10 questions, and then the next section would have 20 questions, right? So the first section would be basically be a theoretical section wherein pseudocode would not be there. These theoretical section may also contain theoretical questions from C, C++, and DSA. So yes, DSA is also there. Capgemini does not care if you are from CS and IT or not from CS and IT. They are allowing you to sit for their drive. This is the max that they can do. They are wanting to hire coders. They do not care if you do not know DSA. They want DSA. They want the people to know DSA. So they are asking a lot of questions. So questions that we've seen in DSA are from your hashing, your stacks, your queues, your trees, basic array operations, which are a little too advanced for C and C++ and more part of the DSA as well. Hashing is the one of the more important concept. Trees, a lot of questions we've seen. Even questions from C and C++, theoretical questions, inheritance, object-oriented concepts like, calculate the address of this particular end of the array, etc., etc. So we'll see a few questions like these once I start covering, and then the rest 20 questions are based upon your pseudocode. So pseudocode essentially, so there would be at least 4 to 5 questions based on DSA out of the 30, and then approximately 6 to 7 questions on C++, and then the rest of the questions on C. Right. So pseudocode questions would be basically you're given in pseudocode, that is a code snippet, and you have to predict the output. Right. So we'll be solving a lot of questions like that. So you don't worry about it. We'll understand a little by little essentially on what all is happening. Right. So let's go ahead. So this is the first question. You can read this question. These are the options. In this gray area, I've also written that, okay, these are the few hints that the question gives you, right? So I'll give you 30 seconds to solve this question, and you have to predict the answer, and that's it. Okay, so now when we try to solve this particular question, there are errors that we encounter. So the first error, so if you just give me 1 second. So there are a few errors. The first error that we encounter here is, so for example, this statement, this particular part of the statement would cause error. Now, the reason why, in fact, not this particular part of the statement would cause an error. The reason why, what you are trying to do is, you are trying to increment the address of array, right? So essentially, if let's say, if I say that x is equals to arr plus plus, so in that case, maybe it would have had been fine, right? But I am trying to increment the address of the array. You cannot be like that, okay, let's say the value was stored. So first and foremost important thing is, a lot of people do not know this. When I write arr of bracket, right, so essentially what am I saying here is, I am talking about the zeroth. So let's say if the array values are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are the array values. So when I say this, so essentially when I percentage d this, so what would get printed here? The zeroth element would get printed. So the value 1 would get printed. But if I remove this bracket and I just simply write arr, so essentially I am talking about the address. So this is important. A lot of people do not know this. This bracket is basically an operator which is called as value at operator in C. A lot of people do not know this. And if you put arr of bracket off, so basically by default it's saying 0. So it's this, and writing this is exactly the same, right? If however I specify arr of 1, so in that case I'm talking about this 2. But if I just simply write arr, so I'm basically saying that, okay, I'm talking about address. So essentially this arr, if you have some variable called as n, right? So this arr of bracket is comparable to this n, and this arr is comparable to ampersand of n. So a lot of people do not know this. So essentially what you are telling your program is that, okay, probably the address was at 4000, and the starting address was 4000, and then the value stored, let's say here was some garbage value, so right, GB. Now what you are telling is, you are telling that, okay, increment the address. So it's like, it is giving you an error that it says that, okay, address is based on compiler. You cannot increment the address. You can reach the incremented address, but essentially you cannot tell me that, okay, now 4000, your address value which was earlier 4000 is now 4004, right? So essentially this would be wrong. A lot of people may not have understood this. In that case, you do not know C really well, right? So this may be a problem. So let's try to run this particular program once, right? So and let's see what exactly happens here, right? So if you just give me a second. So essentially what happens here is, if I try to run this particular program, so if I click upon run here, so it gives me an error, L value is required as increment operand. So this gives an error, right? Now, how you can approach this is, if I run this updated program, right? So let me just, change a few things here so that you can understand it. So I can say this arr. Now, in this case, what would it give it to me? It would give me the address in decimal format, that is unsigned decimal format. So this is the address, right? I can get also this in the normal general format of address. So in that case, if I write *p, so in that case, you can see, so this is hexadecimal format that we've gotten, 0x and so on and so forth, right? If I write, instead of p, if I write d, so the same address but converted into a format of integer type of format. But then again, I could also write this %u, so that, I convert that value into an unsigned value, right? So this is basically the program would work. But however, if I try to do this, in that case, it would give me error. So that is what the question is saying, right? Now, if you want to do this, what you can do is, I can copy paste the same thing. I'll write it again. And then if I want to do this, what I can do is, I can write +1 here, put a bracket, and then in that case, let's run this particular program. So as you can see here, the last address is 44, and then when I write this +1, the address has gotten changed to 48. So essentially, this is giving you the address of arr of 0. This is giving you the address of arr of 1, right? So which is why it's very important for you to know. However, you can't do ARR plus plus. You cannot increment the address that, okay, 4000 was the address value. So I cannot increment the address value. I can increment the value inside the address. So again, important, very important. You can increment the value inside the address. So I can say ARR of this, I can say. So let's say I give them the values as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And okay, so I can't increment this, I have to increment this. Right. So as you can see, so here we've used postfix operator. So which is why rather than that, because obviously one value will come, I should use prefix so that, you know, we get 2 here. So I can do this. So in that case, you will get 2 as an answer here. So again, I've tried to explain you as much as I can in regards to this particular question, right? So let's go ahead and start with the next question that we have here, right? So for the next question, this is the particular question that we have here. I've taken this on purpose so that, you know, all of you understand how to approach these kind of questions. So this particular question is not Capgemini question. The previous question was Capgemini question, but then again I've chosen it so that you understand what is happening. So in this particular case, you have to predict the output of this particular question. So again, you have 30 seconds to answer this one. Okay, so guys, let's try to understand what is happening in this particular problem, right? So again, for me to explain you this, I have to go into a little theory, and then again, I saw that there are a few videos on YouTube which are essentially very baby type of videos, and those questions are not even Capgemini questions, right? Capgemini likes to test you a lot, or wants to ask a little difficult questions, right? So in this particular case, what is happening when you just say, so for example, when I just say percentage U, and I say ARR, right? So essentially what is happening, so for example, this is my array. How many elements are there? 5. So let's say this. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for example, there are 5 elements in the array, which are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not garbage value, assume, right? So when I say percentage U, and when I just simply say ARR, so this is kind of returning me the address of this ARR of, so ARR of 0. So basically both of these things are the same thing, right? So this and this are the same thing, right? So in this case, if I say ARR, right, so in that case, what I'm going to get, so it says that, okay, assume the base address is 2000, so I'm going to get 2000. However, I say ARR plus 1. Right. So essentially in this case, what I'm doing is I'm getting the address of the next one here. So in that case, I'm getting 2004. However, when you say ampersand ARR, so when you say ampersand ARR, so you are talking, so in this case, I was talking about, so ARR plus 1. So I was just talking about this. But when I say just ampersand ARR, so I am talking about this whole array. Right. So when you add 1 to the whole array or the address of the whole array, so you're going to get the starting address of the next memory. So in this case, so let's say in this case it's 2000, it's 2004, then 8, then 12, then 16. So in this case, you are going to get, so this value would be starting from 2020, right? So you would get, first you would get here 2004, and with this one here, you would get 2020. So option number A in this particular case would be correct answer, right? So you should know basic concepts of C. So if you do not know them, so in that case, you're not going to clear the class. What I'll personally suggest you is maybe go ahead with Prep and Star Prime video course of Capgemini. What we've done is, along with the game-based aptitude test, English, pseudo code, all the other things, we're also giving you C and C++ and data structures whole course. 25 hours of course of C and C++, 30 hours of course of data structures in, so data structures course is available in all languages, Java, C, C++ and Python, right? And along with that, you get certifications in all of them. So nano degree courses you are getting free with it. So we'll talk about that later in the video, right? So let's go ahead to the next question. Okay, so here's the next question. Again, I'll give you 30 seconds for you to solve this particular question. Okay, so let's go ahead. A lot of you would be thinking, and I know this is a little easy question for the people who know this concept, and this is a difficult question for the people who do not know this concept, right? So essentially, a lot of people would be thinking that, okay, this would be, so essentially if I use my pen, so in that case, a lot of people would be thinking that, okay, this would be printed. However, this would not be printed. This would be printed. Now, the reason why is, so essentially when you pass this ARR, so what gets passed here, it gets passed as a pointer or pointer to a memory location, right? So when you calculate int of n, that is size of ARR divided by size of ARR of 0. So in that case, you are dividing the size of the pointer, which is 8, and you're dividing it with the size of ARR, which is int, because this value that has been passed is passed as a pointer, right? So you're dividing 8 by, so 8 by 4, that is 2. So essentially the first two elements would be printed. This 1 and 2 would get printed, right? Now, let me just demonstrate the same to you very quickly. So, so for example, if I go ahead and run this particular program, so as you can see, this is the output that has come 1 and 2. However, if I want to solve this, I can include one more thing is I can say size and I can particularly say that, okay, you know, this particular statement that I've written here, I can say int size is equals to this and comma int size, and then I can say int size here, and when I run this one, in that case, this would give us all the output, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, just as perfectly as it should be, right? So this is essentially how we would be able to solve this particular problem, right? So let's go ahead and go and do the next question. So here again, you have 30 seconds again to solve this particular question. Okay, so let's try to understand what is happening in this question, right? So first, a lot of you will say that, okay, 9 is the answer because Prepinsta has total 9 characters, right? However, this is not the answer. The correct answer is 1 in this particular case, right? So let's go ahead and understand why 1 is the answer. So the reason what happens is Scanf returns, so obviously, you know, Scanf will read the input, right? However, it returns the number of arguments read, right? So in this case, Scanf returns number of argument it has read. So essentially the percentage S or percentage D and all of these values that it has, right? So basically it has read one argument that is stored in ARR using just one percentage S. So it will return 1, right? And so it will return the number of arguments that it has read. So it will return 1. Right, and then 1 would get printed here. So for example, if I run this particular program, so you would see that, okay, 1 has been printed here, right? So I'll write Prepinsta here and then 1 has been printed here. However, I can modify it a little so that you would understand a little better. I can say that, okay, there's one more array as ARR of 2 whose size is also 100, and then I can say, okay, ARR of 2, we are trying to read here, and then rather than that, I will use 2 percentage S's here, right? So now when I run this particular program, so let's say I say Prepinsta and prime as the second argument here. So when I run this, you get 2 because it has read 2 arguments. So scanf would return the number of arguments, that is 2, and then that 2 would be read in percentage D here. So essentially, which is why this is the answer, right? So let's go ahead and go ahead with the next question. So again, 30 seconds for you to solve this question. Okay, so let's go ahead. What I will do would do here. So I've already written out this particular program, right? So what would happen here? You would actually be getting an error here. So if I run this particular program, so let's go ahead and see. So as you can see here, it's saying array. The array type has incomplete element type int of this, right? So now a lot of people say no. Obviously, we can say int arr of and not include, like, let's say 10, and then rather than that we can just write the number of arguments. So let's say 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5, so on and so forth, right? It would just work perfectly. Why this is giving the error? The reason why this gives the error is, so only in 1D elements you can do, but if your array has more than one dimensions, then you should always specify all the other dimensions apart from the first dimension, right? So for example, if I write this, so I need to specify. So if I write 100 here and then I run this particular program, then the program would run perfectly. However, if I, let's say, do this, let's say 3-dimensional array, then again it would give us the error. Again, if I do like give the only the third one, again it would give the error. So I would need to write for the for the third dimension and for the second dimension. So all the other dimensions apart from the first dimension you have to specify in the array. So it would not work like this, or it would not work like this, or it would not even work like this. It will only work when all the other dimensions apart from the first dimension is specified, right? So that is exactly how it would be working, right? So let's go ahead to the next particular question. Okay, so what I'll do very quickly is I'll try to write this particular program very quickly so that we can understand it a little better. Because apart from the program, there are a few things. So for example, that you also need to know. So for example, if I write int of I and I write int of arr of, let's say, 5, and just do not give any values, and then I write for I is equals to, let's say, 0, and I plus plus, sorry, I is less than 5, and then I plus plus, and then we print all the values. So for example, printf, and I write percentage d comma arr of I, and I think that's pretty much about it, right? So let's run this. The reason, so as of now I have not written this equal to 1 here. So as of now I have not written this, right? So I'll remove this particular part. This is the only change. So let me run it now, right? So when I run it, as you can see, what would happen here, garbage values would be printed. So if I, like, for example, let me give it a little space so that you can see that, okay, there are 5 garbage values. So as you can see, so this garbage value, garbage value, garbage value, garbage value, garbage value, right? But again, if I specify, let's say, the only one element or the first element, and then I run it again, right? So in this case, what would happen? The first element that we would have would be given the value 1, but apart from that, all the other values would get defaulted to 0. So now this is a unique property that, okay, if you just give one value inside an array, all the other values will get defaulted to 0 and no garbage value would be provided. How if I, for example, write 1 comma 2, so in that case we would have 1 comma 2 as the first value and all the other three values in the question would get defaulted to 0 comma 0 comma 0, right? So let's go ahead to the next question, right? So again, I'll give you 10 seconds for you to solve this particular question. Okay, so let me quickly go ahead and write this particular program. So for example, this is very easy. I don't think, it'll just take us 1 second for us to write it. So for example, I write print f and I write 5, so plus Capgemini. Right, so let me run it here. So for example, let's click on run. So as you can see, mini is printed here. So what essentially happens here is, so if I'm to explain you, right. So this Capgemini gets stored in an array which is having C, A, P, G, E, M, I, so on and so forth, right? All of these values are there. So what happens when you add 5 to it? So the cursor of the array which was initially at the zeroth position, right? It gets skipped to 5th position. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the cursor which was currently at the 0th position of the array in the compiler gets shifted to the 5th position. So it's like, okay, I was here, but I have been shifted here before the printf is executed. So I will print whatever I see after and including m. So this mini gets printed. So again, these kind of questions are like little tricky questions, right? So that's about it. So let's go ahead to the next question. Okay, so again, I'll give you 30 seconds for you to solve it. 30 seconds is more than enough, right? So this question was not of Capgemini. This particular question, this question I have created to demonstrate you the difference between previous question and this question, right? So there's a very slight difference. Okay, so let's go ahead and solve it. I'm not going to write this particular program on. In fact, let's quickly, just write it. So there is percentage %C. So there is percentage %C, comma, we have written 5 of Capgemini, comma, 5 of Capgemini, right? And in that Capgemini, there is a quotation here, right? So let's run this program very quickly. So as you can see in this particular question, only M is printed. So the difference between this one and the previous one is, in the previous one, you shifted the cursor to M, but this was 5 plus Capgemini. So whole mini was printed, but in this case you are talking with brackets. So you can consider this that, okay, array position you are talking. So in that case only M is printed. Right. So these are the few examples of Capgemini from C part of the question. Now what we'll do is we'll do C++. Now C++ is also very important. Out of 30 questions, approximately 6 to 7 questions would be based on C++, mainly object-oriented programming concepts. Right. So which is why it is very important for you all to understand. Right. So let's go ahead. I'll give you 45 seconds to solve this particular question, and then we'll go ahead and I'll explain you the answer. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. Let me explain you this particular question. So essentially what is happening, include studio, all of this. Then you have class test in which you have a static variable that is int x, right? So basically static variable is shared across all the objects of the class, right? All the object, it is shared, right? So, you know, this x is shared across, let's say there are 5 objects. So, T1, T2, T3, so on and so forth. It is shared across all of them. And then you have a constructor. In the constructor, what is happening? You are incrementing the value of this x, right? Each time when the object is called, this created, this constructor would be called, right? And then you are initializing your x value outside the class, which you can do since you have used this scope resolutor double colon. So it is initialized to 0, right? So a lot of you will say that, okay, this test of getX, this will not work and will cause runtime error. Now again, this is a good thing in C++. You can call a function without creating any objects using this particular syntax. Maybe if you do not know this syntax, or you know, you did not think, an alarm did not go off whenever you saw this, right? Ideally, if you're a good programmer, an alarm should go off that, okay, no object has been created, you're trying to call the function. Not possible. But then you see the proper syntax that, okay, you know, this is a syntax that is used wherein you can call the function without any object. So you're like, okay, fine, right? So in this particular point in time, what would happen? 0 would get printed, right? Perfect. But when you create, so there are 5 objects created and those objects are stored as an array. So here you have t of 0, there t of 1, t of 2, t of 3, t of 4, right? So these are 5 objects that you have created here. So every time the object is created, this constructor test is called, right? So what would happen here? This constructor test is called, x plus 1 would happen 5 times. So the value which was 0 is shared across all the 5 objects. So it will become 5 for all of them. So when you print this again, you will get 5 as an output. So answer here would be 0, 5. Right. So maybe if you got it wrong, you want to see it a little again. Right. So let's go ahead and solve the next question. So again, in this particular question, I'll give you 45 seconds for you to solve it. Okay, so in this particular question, what would happen? I'll not even tell you the answer. I don't want to tell you the answer for this particular question, right? I just want you to highlight that, okay, we have not used public or private or protected. And what is a function if you do not specify before that the access specifier mode of it, right? So think about it. I'm not going to tell you the answer. Maybe you can comment the answer for this particular question in the comment section, and if you're not able to find the answer, you can check that in the comment section. Again, we have like a giveaway round wherein you know, for the best 3 comments in each and every video of Prep Insta on YouTube, we give away a Prime video course for the completely free of cost to all of those 3 students. So this could be an explanation, this could be the basically a best comment, and it is randomly chosen by a social media team, right? So you could also comment this part in the video, right? So let's go ahead to the next question. Not going to tell you the answer for this one, right? So again, we've come to DSA, and again the reason why I have not taken the actual questions of the exam, because I wanted to take this particular thing, right? So in this case, what you have to do is you have to calculate the in order, the post order, and the pre-order for this particular question. What I will be doing here is I will be giving you 45 seconds for you to solve this. However, you may take a little more time than it is required. in that case you can pause the video, so it's fine, right? But ideally 45 seconds, in 45 seconds you should be able to write all the three if you have practiced really well, right? So again you would have 45 seconds. So, I'm not going to explain you how pre-order, post-order, in-order and all of them are calculated, right? This video would become very long. We'll provide the link of a page wherein, there would be instructions on how to calculate post-order, pre-order. So that's like the data structures page of Premista. I'm going to tell you the solution of this question though, right? So for example, here, the pre-order of this particular question would be, so it starts from 25 and then, right. So in this case, it would be 25. Okay, so let me, write it here. So it would be 25, it would be 15, then 10, 12, 11, 22, 18, 50, 35, 44, right, and 70, 66, 64, and 90. So this is pre-order. Right. So you can take a for example, let's say if I write post order, so in that case it would be, so post order starts from 11, so 11, 12, so 11, then you would be having 12, then you would be having 10, then you would be having 18, then you would be having 22, then you would be having 15, then you would be having 44, so 15, 44, then 35, then 64, 66, 90, 70, 50, and 25. Right. So this is your post order, and your in order would be, so 10, 11, 12, 15, 18, 22, 25, 35, 44, 50, 64, 66, 70, and 90. Right. So this would be your answer. Again, so these guys are asking post-order, pre-order, in-order type of questions as well. So which is why it would be very important for you to understand, right? Then again, these guys are also asking you bubble sort, insertion sort, quick sort, and all of these. So for example, if you apply bubble sort, what would the array look like in pass 4 iteration 3, kind of questions like that. For example, if you do quick sort, in that case the iteration 4, how would the array look like? Or if you apply, let's say, binary search, in that case, or let's say merge sort, in that case, iteration 4, how would it look like? So these kind of questions they are asking, it would be a little too complex. A lot of my non-CS and IT folks would get demotivated, so which is why I'm not including that part in the video, right? So let's go ahead and go ahead to the next question. Right, so again, this is the output of the answers in the next slide. So if you were not able to get it, or maybe if I solved it incorrectly in the previous one, so you can check this out, right? So let's go ahead to the next question. For this particular question, what I'll do is I'll give you again 45 seconds, or in fact 30 seconds for you to solve this question. Okay, so let's understand what essentially is happening in this question, right? So basically they are saying that, okay, we are given a binary tree, or like whenever they say binary tree, assume that, okay, it's kind of like a full binary tree. The number of nodes with degree 0 are 20. Now you have to understand, your degree would be 0 in the cases when you are a leaf node. Right. So essentially there are 20 leaf nodes and you have to calculate the nodes wherein the degree is 2. So the degree would be 2 for internal node. Right. So in any tree, either you are a leaf node or you are an internal node. Right. So a lot of people who know DSA a lot, you would know about something called as handshaking lemma, which essentially says that in a K-array tree, where every node has either 0 or k children, the following property is always true, right? L. So basically the formula is L is equals to uh, k minus 1 into I plus 1, right? So the k value k-array, so the k value here binary, so the k value is 2. So essentially 2 minus 1 is 1. So basically for our binary tree, L is equals to I plus 1. So here maybe you can not see I properly. So this is capital I, so which is why now I have written small I here, right? So L is equals to I minus 1. L is the number of internal nodes, right? And I essentially is the number of leaf nodes that you have, right? So in this case, okay, so my mistake. So basically here I told you this incorrectly. So L is equals to I plus 1. So L is essentially your leaf nodes, right? That is 20. And I is the number of internal node, that is basically the value that we have to calculate. The number of node with degree 2, that is internal node, right? So I plus 1, right? So in this case, our I value would be 19. Right, so here the answer would be correct. So this was one of the questions just asked like yesterday. So this was question just asked yesterday. Okay, so let's go ahead again. So this is a question related to hashing. Is easy question. You just need to know hashing concept. There were difficult questions, but I did not take them on purpose. So again, if I'll give you 30 seconds for you to solve it, or I shouldn't even be giving you that. So again, basically the correct answer in this particular case, I don't even have to tell you, is collision, right? So if you know hashing, you know what collision is. So again, so how do you prepare for Capgemini pseudo code, right? You are not from CS and IT branch, maybe, or you are from CS and IT branch. So you need to know C. Okay, so just give me 1 second. You need to know C, you need to know C++, you need to know DSA, and you need to have a course for this that not just covers all the previous year pseudocode questions, so doesn't even tell you, but also has all of these 3 courses so that you can even prepare for them in further placements as well, right? So essentially what we have done on purpose in this particular case here is we have included this in Prep Insta Prime. So when you buy Prep Insta Prime, obviously you get approximately 40 hours or 50 hours of content that is very specific to Capgemini. All the game-based aptitude question videos are there. All the game-based, all the personality profiling video are there. English videos are there. Apart from that, all the previous year pseudocode questions of videos are there. But apart from that, we have also included a C, C++ and DSA nano degree courses as well. So if you do that, not only you will prepare for Capgemini, but you will also get certifications in C, C++ and data structures, which will be good for you when you showcase them in your resume. Right, so which is why it would be important. Maybe one of our team members could also show you how our Prep Insta certifications looks of the nano degree. Right, so when you buy that, you can always request for the certification once you watch all the videos. This approximately 25 to 30 hours of videos for C and C++, 30 to 40 hours of videos of DSA. Apart from that, pseudocode videos are there. game-based profiling videos are there, English round videos are there. So it's the whole course, which is around 70 to 80 hours of whole course. You will get all the previous year papers. So essentially Prime mock subscription is also included. However, if you do not want videos, in that case, you could just go ahead and buy a Prep Insta's Capgemini Prime mock course. So with the Prime mock course, you will just get all the previous year papers, not the videos, right? If you buy Prime video course, then you get the Prime mock course included in the same as well. So right, so you can join it at the very same time. In the last 4 days, approximately 3,100 students have bought it. We also ran in Independence Day as well, so which is why there was large number as well, right? So you can also join it. We are uploading many new videos on a daily basis. So I hope to see you all in all of them. Make sure that you do subscribe to our YouTube channel to get even further more videos. Hexaware is also hiring. So we have posted the link for Hexaware hiring on our Instagram page as of now. So you can go to our Instagram and and apply for Hexaware as well. The link to our Instagram, LinkedIn, Telegram and WhatsApp, wherever we post our off-campus drives, would be provided in the description below. Right. So thank you guys for joining us in this particular section. We'll see you again. Thank you.